I don't think I need to explain what a hater is, but if we take that term and expand it across generations, then we have what's called a generational hater. If you've seen this video by Cj Dachamp, then you know exactly what I'm going on about. This situation is just like that, but to a lesser degree. As for this episode of Pokemon Adventures' greatest battles, we have Blue Oak vs Agatha of the Elite Four. So let's get straight into things. To set the scene for this fight, I'm going to do things in chronological order. So first we have to go to a flashback of the first ever Pokemon League. Here we see a young Professor Oak just coming out of a victory against another trainer. As you can see in the crowd, everyone's cheering for him, as of course you would. But there's just one face, as always, just glaring at him. This lady of course is Agatha. So yeah, turns out Oak and Agatha are childhood friends and also fellow researchers. Or at least they were, before Professor Oak left the research group. As he tells her that they've lost their purpose and all they care about is trying to make Pokemon do what they want. And Oak doesn't stand with that. So he made the choice to leave, which of course makes sense. Agatha however doesn't agree with this and tells Oak, "What if I tell you you're not free to leave?" Well, to answer your question Agatha, that would be illegal. And if you keep this up, hey, there's a special table just waiting right for you. So the two battle it out for a bit and Agatha asks Oak, what will he do without the research group? Oak then smirks, telling her that he'll do his own research and stay true to his goal of creating a Pokemon encyclopedia, or more commonly known as a Pokedex. Professor Oak, like the chat he is, then gets his Kangaskhan to hit Gengar with a Dizzy Punch that somehow works. Agatha then tells Oak that he's a fool and he'll die before he's finished even half of the dex. Oak tells her, yeah, that's a possibility, but if that is the case, he'll get his children or his grandchildren to take up the quest. Which, as we know, ends up happening. After this encounter, the two trainers would meet again shortly in the Pokemon League finals, and these two trainers battled for not one, not two, not even 3, but 8 whole hours, where Professor Oak barely managed to win. And because of his past with Oak, where not only did he leave their research group, but also defeat her, a Ghost-type master in a Pokemon battle, using only Normal-type Pokemon with Normal and Fighting-type moves, which is honestly disrespect to another level, Agatha decided that she'll become a lifelong professional hater to the Oak name. Which brings us to nearly present day with our first section, Blue vs Agatha Round 1. So, this story takes place at the same time Red was fighting against Giovanni. Blue was on his way to the Indigo Plateau, but on his way a Lapras attacks him. Because it runs in his family genes, Blue just has to disrespect his Pokemon for attacking him. So he dodges Lapras' attack like he's Goku using instant transmission, making Lapras look so lost. Blue even has to signal to the Pokemon where he is, which is in the sky, as his Golduck is using Hydro Pump to keep him in the air. Lapras gets ticked off as it's meant to be an intelligent Pokemon, but Blue's like, nah, we don't fight back here, and gets his Golduck to fire off a Hyper Beam under the water, straight at Lapras, finishing it off. And to really seal the deal, Blue makes sure to catch it. As Blue returns to land, he gets interrupted by a boy telling him that Lapras belongs to him. Blue questions this, as if it did belong to him, he shouldn't have been able to catch it. But the boy then explains he's been trying to catch Lapras every day for weeks now. Blue's like, oh, I get it, and then begins to leave. Since, I mean, technically, in Pokemon it's first come first serve. The boy then stops him again, pulling his shirt and begging him for the Lapras. At this point, most characters would normally just give in and give the kid the Pokemon, but Blue's not most characters. So, he teaches the kid a lesson, that if you want to be a Pokemon trainer, then you have to train yourself so that you can then catch the Pokemon. But the boy tells him that he can't wait, piquing Blue's interest. With this introduction now done, we can start getting into the deeper things. Blue and the boy head to the Pokemon Center and speak with Professor Oak, and here's where we learn about the occurrence of Ghost-type Pokemon getting lured into the power plant and disappearing. Turns out this is what happened to the boy, and his Haunter went missing, so now he needs a strong Pokemon to help him save it, hence why he said he couldn't wait. Blue thinks for a while and decides that he'll go. The boy then starts gassing up Blue, saying that he's Professor Oak's grandson as well as a strong trainer, trying to complete the Pokedex. And here Blue has to teach him another lesson, letting him know that he's not getting his Pokemon back for him. What he's gonna do is just keep an eye out on the kid, and sprints off to the power plant. So now our newly formed duo head on to their quest of saving Haunter, and we get to see a quick peek of what's going on inside the power plant. Blue and the boy enter and get attacked almost immediately by a Magneton, so Blue battles it and takes the chance to teach the kid about Pokemon battle, and reminds him, no matter what happens, you always need to keep your cool. The two continue on their journey and Blue reiterates his motive, saying he doesn't really care or not whether the kid gets his Pokemon back, but what he does care about is the reason behind all this weirdness. This is where things get bad, as a voice calls out to him saying what does he find so weird, followed by gas filling up the room. Blue tries to check his Pokedex and see what's going on, but the gas is stopping it from working. The voice then notices the Pokedex and asks if he's a trainer from Professor Oak's lab. And what happens next is just so unfortunate. This little hype man starts shouting back saying, yeah, this guy's Oak's grandson and his name is Blue. All this to the very person that despises his bloodline. Blue shuts up the kid, pretty much saying, you're speaking to an unknown voice that started spreading gas around us, and then you're gonna go and yell out, not your name, but my name and relations to it. The voice then starts rambling about how this is fate and that she's been waiting a long time to get payback on Oak. And now his grandson's walked in. And you can see, Blue is pissed about this, as he knew exactly what was gonna happen. The voice then continues, saying it was actually just gonna chase them out, but now that she knows who he is, plans are gonna be changing. A Gengar suddenly appears and Blue has to fight back, protecting the kid with Golduck. By protecting the kid, however, he left himself wide open, getting caught by a hypnosis attack. This hypnosis isn't as simple as just putting you to sleep. This is like a genjutsu, and Blue sees a memory of his past, back when he was a child training. In this memory dream thing, we get to see Blue complaining how he could win anything if he had his Pokemon. But his teacher's like, nah bro, you gotta get strong yourself first. So with Blue pretty much packed up, the voice gets Gengar to start using Dream Eater, absorbing Blue's energy whilst he sleeps. The kid realizes that everything that just happened was all his fault. And yeah, that is 100% true. The voice then starts to approach the boy, revealing herself to be Agatha of the Elite Four, and also the reason why the ghost Pokemon have been disappearing. And because of her title, I'm just gonna put her right here. Agatha then commands Gengar to finish Blue off. In his dream, Blue's teacher calls out to him, making him wake up. Blue realizes that he's been dreaming this whole time, and if he gets put to sleep again, he'll definitely die. The kid is at a loss of what to do, but then he sees Blue's Pokedex on the floor, which is displaying Blue's thoughts. This is all done thanks to the help of Golduck. Blue instructs the kid to attack Agatha directly, as behind her lands a ton of Pokeballs, so if he rushes her while she's distracted, he can get his Haunter back and attack the Gengar. And even if his Haunter can't measure up to Gengar, it'll be enough for him to be distracted and release the Dream Eater attack. But this kid has the audacity to say he can't do it because he's scared. But the whole reason Blue got into this mess was because of him. Blue then realizes he's gonna have to start hyping up this guy and tells him,
never back down, never what?
Never give up.
Yeah, I want it louder though. Never back down, never what?
Never give up.
Never back down, never what?
Never give up.
Let's ready. Let's go.
The kid then realizes it's time to lock in and heads straight for Agatha, who sends out her Pokemon to fight back, sending the boy flying, but luckily into the pile of Pokeballs where he finds his Haunter. And now with Haunter by his side, he attacks Gengar, managing to free Blue. Blue then gets his Cypher, ready to attack, and Agatha tells him that physical attacks won't work on a formless Pokemon like Ghastly or Gengar. Blue then locks in himself and remembers what his master told him, that if your soul is able to grasp the essence of your enemy, your Pokemon will follow suit and be able to slice through an enemy even without form. Hey, Blue's teacher's definitely been playing some different Pokemon games, as last time I checked, normal type moves are not going to work on ghost type Pokemon. Okay, never mind. So yeah, Blue gets his Cypher to use Slash, cutting Gengar and Ghastly. Agatha laughs, telling Blue that he really is Oak's grandson, before disappearing into the mist. Blue tries to get her to wait so he can question her about how he knows his grandfather, but it's too late. I won't lie, I have no idea what Blue did, but his samurai training clearly paid off. But now with Haunter saved and Agatha chased away, it's time for everyone's favorite duo to split up. Before he goes, Blue, like the goat he is, decides to leave the Lapras behind for the kid to do what he wants with him. Alright, so that was the first confrontation between these two, and now Blue's armed with the power to cut pretty much anything. And you can see bro is hella hyped about this power up, as later on he starts cutting flaming boulders to pieces just because he can. Now we can get on to our next and final section of this video, as these two are going to throw hands one last time in a proper fight. Proper Pokemon fight, I mean. Of course, not physically. Like, with the way Agatha's built, I'm pretty sure if she got hit by a wooden sword, she might, like, genuinely die. This fight is going to be taking place at the final battleground of the Yellow Arc, and happens at around the same time as these two videos. So if you haven't seen them, go check them out after this. So, Team Rocket's admins and the good guys are going to be teaming up to take down the Elite Four, and Blue's been paired up with Koga, the guy who nearly killed him 2 years ago. But they're cool now, cause you know, common enemy and all that. Here, Blue also takes a chance to return Koga's Golbat, which he got during the fight at Silphco. Koga uses his Golbat to search for the enemy, which appears being an Arbok. Koga gets to jump on it with his own Arbok and the two fight. Agatha commands her Pokemon from an unknown location and gets it to use Rock Slide, causing not only rocks but stalactites to fall from the ceiling. Koga's Golbat ends up getting hit by one, forcing Blue to dive and save it. However, this was all part of Agatha's plan, as Gengar appears from the shadows, using Lick on Blue's eyes, paralyzing his vision, once again punishing Blue for helping others. The rocks continue to fall, eventually creating a wall between the two trainers. Now with his eyesight gone, Blue has to rely on Golbat using Supersonic to guide him. At first, everything's going well, until another sound wave starts countering his, being Agatha's Golbat. Whilst Blue's suffering, you might as well cover what's going on with Koga, who's now met face to face with Agatha. She tells him, although they may both have Arbok, the difference in skill is way too vast. And then the pattern on Arbok's skin begins to change. Turns out, Agatha's Arbok can change pattern on its skin, and depending on each pattern, different powers come out. So with this, she easily outspeeds and overpowers Koga and his Arbok. Koga then uses his brain to come up with a strategy to defeat Agatha, getting his Arbok to use Glare, which actually fails. So yeah. Agatha then gets her Arbok to use Bite on the other Arbok's tail, putting it out of commission. But at least this lets Koga get free, and he uses his Muck and Weezing to try poison Agatha. But this doesn't work either, as Arbok once again changes pattern, taking down Weezing and Arbok. At this point, Koga was just starting to feel tired, as everything he tried just didn't work. Let's not forget about Blue though, who's being attacked relentlessly due to his blindness. Koga clocks on that Blue must be struggling, and throws multiple Pokeball Shuriken that fly around in all directions. Agatha suggests he gives up, but Koga refuses, bringing out his trump card, being Arbok's ability to regenerate any part of its body as long as its head remains. To make matters even better, Blue returns with his sight now healed. Turns out, the Pokeballs that Koga threw actually contained Pokemon containing Paralyze Heal. So now with these two trainers back together, they can finally start jumping this old lady. What Koga does next is something only a ninja like himself would do, and that's getting his Golbat to bite his arm and spew out the blood onto Arbok, stopping it from changing patterns. A W play, but that comes at the price of a lot of blood loss. Agatha tries to finish off the now weakened Koga, but Blue's had enough and sends her flying with Golduck's confusion. Like I was saying, Agatha's not the most durable person, so this takes her down. So, with Agatha defeated, the duo get ready to head deeper into the island and help out with the final battle. Here's what I wanted to say, but we've got a plot twist. Turns out, this old lady who's been hating on the Oak name for all these years is still holding on to the most pointless grudge ever. So, with the power of hating, she gets back up once again and prepares her final attack. And yeah, you can see in her eyes that she's crazy, rambling about how Oak has been her biggest inspiration for all this time, that he can put that on his tombstone. As for Blue and Koga, they'll be waiting in heaven to meet him, and we see whilst they're walking, they're being tailed by Gengar. Blue and Koga continue walking when they realize that they've been walking in circles this whole time, and now they're right back where they started. However, now there's one difference, being that Agatha's now disappeared. The two then also realize that they're being followed by Gengar and try to fight back, but due to Gengar hiding in the shadows, their Pokemon can't fight back. Gengar then disappears into Koga's shadow, and Blue gets out his whole squad so that they can all attack. They try this, but they were too slow, as Gengar goes into Blue's shadow next and takes down all of his Pokemon one by one. Blue then notices Gengar is using the move Counter in order to fight back, so Blue gets his Porygon to use Conversion, turning it into a Ghost type. So now when Gengar tries to attack, it has no effect. You would think this would stop it, but nothing's ever simple in Pokemon Adventures. Gengar switches targets, this time just attacking Blue straight up. Blue, just like usual, knows it's time to lock in, and this time thinks on how to catch the Gengar off guard. He theorizes that Gengar must be reacting to something in order to know when to attack, and also Gengar travels through shadows. So Blue separates himself from Koga so it can't hop between their shadows. Blue then does some testing and realizes that Gengar's reacting to sound, so whenever they move, or even the slightest sound is heard, it can attack. And man, they really got my man Blue hiding from Gengar like Gohan was hiding from Majin Buu. Suddenly, smoke starts to appear, and Blue realizes that Koga's got a plan, as he's whispering to his Arbok. So, the two wait in silence, and after a bit of silence, something moves and Gengar hops out to attack. But what actually moved was Arbok's tail. Revealing that was a decoy, Blue appears, finishing things off with Porygon's side beam attack. Finally, ending this. Okay, time to explain their big brain plan. The reason why Koga was using smoke was to signal to Blue his idea, by making smoke shaped like Arbok. And because Blue's just that guy, he remembers all the characteristics of his enemy's Pokemon, and knew that Arbok can move its tail even after it's severed. Blue then gets Golbat to fly up into the air and use Confuse Ray to light up the area, and forcing Agatha to reveal herself. And because it's in his blood, Blue just can't help but bring up the fact that the same Golbat that she laughed at him for saving was the same Golbat that forced her to reveal herself. Agatha smiles, saying, "That's my Blue. Your grandfather Professor Oak used to be just like that." So you may remember me saying at the start of this video, Oak used moves like Dizzy Punch on Gengar even though it has no effect. Yeah, turns out all of that was on purpose. All for the simple reason of Oak just knew it would get into Agatha's head. She then begins gassing him up even more, saying back in the past he was good, brave and strong. But now he's none of that, since he started making toys like the Pokédex. Suddenly, everything on the island starts to shake, as this is when Last was going wild against Yellow. Because of this, it gives Agatha the chance to escape, but before she goes, she reveals her full plans to Blue. For example, how she learned to control Pokemon, as well as people such as Bruno. and after a hella long expedition dump, she finally leaves, never to be seen again. Blue wants to chase after her, but his Pokedex starts to beep, meaning all the Pokedexes and their original owners are nearby, but most importantly meaning the missing red is back. So with that, Blue takes his leave, and you know the rest. So that brings this video to an end. As usual, let me know your favorite part of this battle and what moment you want to see next. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more Pokemon manga videos like this. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care.